Had a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Director of WEIU. My co-host is Robinson's favorite son, Cade Slaughter.
Thank you, Jeff.
And our guest today making her initial appearance is Ambrosia Branson, Circle of Care Program Coordinator for the Our House. Welcome, Ambrosia.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me today. I'm excited.
Appreciate you getting out in the weather today, Ambrosia, and coming over. I guess what we'll start out with a little bit for folks who just don't know or maybe not familiar with, what is the Circle of Care program and how you work with the Our House or work inside the Our House?
Absolutely. So the Circle of Care is a one-year statewide grant-funded project that the Our House has. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Our House, it is a substance use disorder treatment agency located here in Charleston, Illinois. They provide an array of different services, clinical services, as well as community-based programs that they have as well, which is kind of where the Circle of Care comes into play. So our project was funded because of the wonderful work that Nancy Phillips has been able to do over the last 10 years with the Illinois Family Resource Center. So they're another statewide grant-funded program as well. And really what they aim to do is provide, education and training on a variety of different topics surrounding families. So, substance use disorder, mental health, kinship care, gambling disorder, all of those different things. So it's really because of the wonderful work that they have been able to do that allowed for the Circle of Care project to come to be. And so really with the Circle of Care, what we're wanting to do in our 1 year with our project is build this network of grief and substance use disorder resources, essentially this network of support for children, teens, and families who are experiencing grief and loss related to substance use disorder or substance use related deaths.
Yeah, I know that's a big issue, especially in the local communities. I know even the community down south of me is one of the biggest meth production sources necessarily. But I do ask this question. So how do you become involved with the Circle of Care program necessarily?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website. It's called IllinoisFamilyResources.org. I think there's 2 Illinois Family Resource Centers in the state of Illinois. So I always tell people IllinoisFamilyResources.org, or you might be on the wrong website. So IllinoisFamilyResources.org, or we have a Facebook page. It is called Illinois Family Resource Center. So that's where the Circle of Care essentially lives, is on their Facebook page as well as on their website. You can reach out to us there. Otherwise, you can reach out to anyone on the Circle of Care team, myself, Ambrosia Branson, or Terry Moore, or Zachary Wingert, who is our administrative assistant.
Can you tell us about the project, including some details of, about your mission, how you're funded? I know it's only a year long, may get extended, and then really what your goal is during this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to tell people we've got 2 big overarching things that we're wanting to do in our 1 year. Again, in our 1 year, we're wanting to build this network of grief and substance use disorder resources for the children, teens, and families who are experiencing grief and loss related to substance use disorder. But we're also wanting to, in our 1 year, train as many people who are naturally interacting with kiddos. So this can be, people that work at the local YMCAs, our educators, the local soccer coach maybe in the community. We're wanting to train people who naturally interact with kiddos on how to respond confidently and comfortably to child's grief that they may be experiencing related to substance use. So, that could be maybe losing a loved one due to a drug overdose, that grief and loss associated with that, or that ambiguous loss that kiddos may experience where maybe they haven't lost mom or dad to their substance use, but maybe they're not physically or emotionally present. So those are the 2 big things that we're wanting to do in this 1 year. We're funded through IDHS and SUPER, which is the Illinois Department of Human Services, Division of Substance Use Prevention and Recovery, a mouthful, but some of our funding specifically comes from the American Rescue Plan Act, which is another reason why, we're just funded for this 1 year. And, people always ask me all the time, they're like, oh my gosh, Ambrosia, you guys are only funded for 1 year. What's going to happen after your year of funding? And I always like to assure people we do have a sustainability plan. We have things set in place that whenever our year of funding is up, the Illinois Family Resource Center, they're going to house all of the different resources and materials that we've created, and they're going to keep everything essentially going for us. The Circle of Care is just going to live there, basically. That's what I tell people.
That's cool. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering. I do know this is a very touchy subject, and of course, this really helps the community out. Do you have any communicative challenges that arise whenever you're dealing with your clients or anybody else?
Yeah, so with the Circle of Care program, we're not a service provider. We're just trying to connect, people to the Circle of Care resources throughout the whole state of Illinois. And so, whenever we've been promoting the program all throughout the state, we've been interacting with people from various, I guess we call them sectors. Educators, law enforcement, social service agencies, youth serving organizations, all of them. And everyone has been so receptive regarding the program. They know this is a very much needed program in communities. Really being able to provide these resources for not only our kiddos, but also our families.
So you spend a lot of time on the road, I assume, then as well?
Yeah, so we have, yes, myself, Terry, and then our administrative assistant, he's been even hitting the road with us too. We travel throughout the whole state. We've been to, just in the month of October, we attended about 5 conferences throughout the state. So we really try to, meet with people throughout the state at different conferences. We have meetings with people. I think in the month of October, we had around 60 meetings with people, just trying to reach out to them and tell them about the program.
Okay. Now, when you think about what's going on right now at the Our House and the target population, so is the Our House is it a success story right now with what they're doing with over there, and then how do you interact with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, again, the Our House, they provide a variety of different services, clinical services, so inpatient and outpatient substance use disorder treatment. And then they have their community-based projects. I can't speak to all of the clinical services as I've spent, a lot of my time working with the community-based side. But, the Our House has had a lot of success, especially with their ROS councils or the ROSC program. That's actually where I came from, that program, before I transitioned into this position. And so the ROSC is a statewide grant funded project as well. The Our House is the lead agency for, I think it's 6 ROSC councils covering 8 counties. So Clark, Cumberland, Coles, Douglas, Edgar, Effingham, Shelby, and Moultrie counties. And so, they've had wonderful success with the ROSC councils, and really what that project aims to do is, build communities that support people in recovery and, really just trying to connect people to whatever resource it is that they may need in their recovery journey. Really just trying to increase the amount of recovery resources in the communities. So the Our House has had amazing success with their ROSC councils and, just building these recovery communities across our counties and across the state.
We're talking today to Ambrosia Branson from the Circle of Care program. When you talk about some of the components of the program, one of the big ones I know is the Grief Support Services Directory. But grief support has to be one of the toughest parts of your job and the job of the people that do stuff like you do?
Yeah, so with our Grief Support Services Directory, really what we're doing is, identifying all of the different grief resources, services, and supports that we have in the state of Illinois. So really with the Circle of Care, what we're wanting to do is build this directory that's going to be on the Illinois Family Resource Center website. We currently have about half of it up right now. But essentially we're, doing a lot of research. We have a wonderful researcher on our team, and we've tasked her with looking at, the clinical and non-clinical grief resources, supports, and services that we have across the state. And so far we've found about 243 licensed clinical professionals who advertise they're specializing in treating child and youth grief. Now, we expect this number to grow as we continue to do research, but we do have all of those grief service providers listed on the IllinoisFamilyResources.org website. And currently we're looking at, across the state, our non-clinical grief resources and supports. So who in communities are doing grief support groups, whether that's like a faith-based organization or the hospital, or looking at, I know up in the Cook County area, we have a lot of bereavement camps that agencies hold for children who've just lost a loved one, whether it's to an overdose or suicide or any other type of related death. So a lot of bereavement camps. And really we just want our directory to be very comprehensive of all of the clinical and non-clinical grief resources, supports, and services that we have in the state of Illinois, just because we've recognized, through our research and through our work that, there's a lot of children who are falling through the cracks of the traditional support systems that we have set in place. And a lot of families and kiddos and adults in our communities don't know about grief resources or services available to them. And so that's, the biggest thing with our directories. We want people to be able to access the service or resource that they need. Again, I always just like to tell people we're not, with the Circle of Care, we're not a service provider. We're more along the lines, connecting people to the resources.
Makes sense.
So whenever you are able to connect people, I am curious, how do you handle like confidentiality and also privacy concerns?
Yeah, so whenever we're connecting people, say if someone reaches out and asks us, hey, I live in this community and I want to know if there's maybe a licensed clinical professional who provides grief specific services, or I'm not needing like clinical support, but I'm looking just for a grief support group. We really just direct them to the grief support services directory, or we've been meeting with people all over the state for the past couple of months, and so if they're needing any other type of resource or service, we try to connect them to whatever it is that they may need.
Mm-hmm.
On the one of the other things is the online resource toolkits, and the a couple of things there: the Threads of Hope training, but also the comfort bags for kids. You sent some pictures of those out. Would tell them what kind of the response when you see a kid get one of those, and where did you come up with that idea from?
Yeah, absolutely. So those are like some of our bigger things. All of these, we have like 4.5 program components. They're all really big, but we've been working really hard on the directory, our online resource toolkits, the Threads of Hope training, and the comfort bags. And so with the online resource toolkits, these are going to be resources that have various materials in them wrapped up into a little toolkit online. So inside of these toolkits, they're going to be made specific to the developmental age of the child. So we have like 3 different toolkits, so ages 0 to 5, 6 to 12, and then 13 to 17/18. And essentially they're going to be for our natural helpers to use if they ever come across a kiddo that they've recognized or identified as experiencing grief related to substance use. And so inside of these toolkits, they have various resources and materials such as activities for them to do with the child, informational sheets that they can read, to have a better understanding of maybe what that child's going through, educational videos for them, and just again a lot of activities for them to do with the kiddo. And so I always like to tell people too, you'll probably hear me saying, oh, we're going to do this, oh, we're working on this. I always just like to put into perspective to people that this is a 1-year project, so we're very much like, I feel like, developing and implementing at the same time. So our online resource toolkits, we're looking at having those completed by, I think, the second or third week in January is what we're looking at having those done by. And then, but we are about to launch our first round of them here in a couple of days, I do believe. It'll be live on the IllinoisFamilyResources.org website.
Good timing then, to be honest.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And then kind of our Threads of Hope training. This is a huge component that we're really promoting heavily across the state right now. It's called the Threads of Hope training, weaving support for children grieving a substance use related death. So with the training, we have a wonderful consultant on our team. Her name is Jessica Porte. She's out of California. She's been in the nonprofit sector for the past 14 years, specifically working with grief and substance use disorder. So we're super excited to have her on our team, and she's going to be doing our Threads of Hope training. So we're doing 5 trainings in total. They're completely free, completely virtual. They're going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day, so in 2 days each, so kind of intense. But we have offered or applied to be able to offer CEUs for the trainings for people to be able to attend. And if people are interested in signing up, they can look at the Illinois Family Resource Center Facebook page, and we have the live links where people can register on there. Otherwise, they can look on the IllinoisFamilyResources.org website. And I always like to tell people with the trainings, we're making them very educational as well as experiential. So with the trainings, we recognize we're wanting to bring people to the trainings that, are natural helpers, people who are naturally interacting with kiddos, first responders, educators, everyone in a community. We really want them to be able to attend this training, but we recognize that we're bringing people in from various sectors, various knowledge, backgrounds, experiences. So we're wanting to be able to provide them all with the basis knowledge of, what is substance use disorder? What is mental health? What do the family dynamics look like of a child living in a home where substance use is present? What does stigma look like? What does grief look like? And how does all of this impact the child? So not only are we wanting to have those educational components, but also the experiential components where we're wanting to teach our attendees tools and strategies that they can use to help this child that they're working with, respond confidently and comfortably to child's grief that they may be experiencing. So then the last part of that with the training is one of the things that Jessica is going to be doing is introducing our comfort bags for kids. So with our project, we were able to get materials to put together 14,400 comfort bags for kid. Yes, it's crazy. But they're going to be split up by English and Spanish bags and teen and youth bags. And so during the trainings, she's going to be teaching, our attendees the application of the materials in the bags. So if they were able to sit down with a child and go through the items in the bag, they can teach that child how they can use those items to comfort them through whatever stressful or traumatic experience they've went through.
Is there an example like of the work with the kids in those bags that you could give right now that they're going to be maybe keeping a diary or whatever?
Yeah, so I always like to give the example. We have, and most people don't know about them, so if you're listening now, go out and look online to see what they are. But we were able to work with the founder of an organization out in California called Mimble Balls. And so it's a little circle, like plush toy, essentially. It just has eyes, and it has some crazy hair, and it doesn't have a mouth. But basically, the Mimble Ball has a lot of meanings behind it. The Mimble Ball doesn't have a mouth because it means your Mimble Ball doesn't judge you. It has this crazy hair. I wish I had mine in person because I'd
there's
show
a
it.
picture up there.
Oh,
right there.
perfect! Yay! But with the Mimble Ball, it doesn't have a mouth because it means your Mimble Ball doesn't judge you. It has this crazy hair that kids can pet back and like give it a little snuggle whenever they're feeling stressed or going through something. And then also if you like bop it on its bottom, or I just throw the little Mimble Ball forward, its hair goes crazy, and that's supposed to tell kiddos it's okay to be
Kate would
crazy in
love
yourself.
They reflect me perfectly.
They're super great. Yeah, all of the items in the bags have a lot of meaning behind them. We're also writing a letter that's going to go in the comfort bags as well, and it's for the kiddos, and it says, "Hi, I'm your comfort bag," and it gives them like prompts specifically. We have wooden hearts and markers in every bag. That's an activity for them, and it gives them a prompt on how they can use that. So yeah, super excited.
That's cool.
Say, is there anything else upcoming that you have planned that you're pretty excited for? Say, I feel like that's really great to involve all that, really.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So actually, perfect timing. We have been working specifically with a lot of groups here on Eastern's campus. We need help putting together our comfort bags for kids. Again, we have 14,400. That's a lot to put together, and we're going to start distributing the bags after our first training. So after January at some point, we're going to start, giving these to the people that attend the Threads of Hope training and giving them out so that way they can give them out to the kiddos that they serve across the state. So we are looking for, volunteers to come and help us in assembling these bags. If anyone is interested, they can connect with our administrative assistant. Again, Zachary Winger. It's zachw@ourhouserecovery.org. That's something huge, that we're looking for help still in getting those bags done. I want to say, and this is just me completely throwing out a number, I want to say maybe we have like 3,000 done. So we've still got a lot to go to get done. So yeah, we're really looking forward to, continuing to assemble those bags. We're really looking forward to, continuing to promote the Threads of Hope training and really getting everyone in the state of Illinois to attend.
Oh yeah. Say, I am curious, you may have touched on this a little bit briefly, of course, earlier. How did you specifically get involved with this organization?
Yeah, so my journey, basically, I graduated from Eastern with my bachelor's and master's, and I was on the hunt for a job, and I applied at so many different places, and the Hour House is the one place that took a chance on me, and that's how I landed up there. I worked at the Hour House for 2 years on the ROSC program, and then they had this wonderful opportunity come about, and I'm so thankful they had me in mind, and that's kind of how I ended up there. And so it's a really great project. You know, I'm just so thankful that the Hour House was awarded this opportunity to really be able to make an impact on all of these kiddos across the state. You know, and it's just a really needed program. There was a recent study, and I'm going to get researchy and nerdy here, but there was
We love it.
but there was a recent study. It was actually the first federal study that was conducted that looked at the amount of children who lost a parent due to a drug overdose. And so essentially this study looked at a 10-year time span from 2011 to 2021, and in that amount of time, that 10-year time span, they found that approximately it was like 320,000 children lost a parent due to a drug overdose. And you know, just putting that into perspective, thinking about how many of those kiddos do you think received the appropriate grief support that they needed. And you know, one of the things we recognize with this project is, and you know, another reason why we're funded is because we recognize that grief looks different whenever it's grief related to substance use. You know, there's additional layers of stigma in there, as well as, you know, just in a lot of cases traumatic things that are going on at the home. Just chaos, which is, you know, what we tend to see around substance use disorder. And so yeah, I hope that answered your question. My mind went blank there for a second.
Certainly, yeah.
You touched on the word gambling a little bit earlier. Now gambling is so prevalent in our society. Basically, it's become legal to gamble, and it's become legal to advertise to gamble everywhere. Pro sports, college sports, and everything else. Have you seen an increase in gambling issues and addiction here in your job and travels?
Yeah, so with the Hour House, they hold another grant that is specifically covering gambling. So they do provide gambling services at the Hour House. So I can't really speak to the gambling component because I'm more, you know, kiddo substance use disorder and grief. But that's a wonderful question that I can follow up with you.
No, I just didn't know if you'd heard because it's, you know, it seems like it's everywhere right
Oh,
now.
it is everywhere.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's a million slot machines in my hometown
Yes.
that have just been added the last year or so.
Yes.
Excuse me, Ambrosia. What is your favorite part of the job that you do there for the Circle of Care / Hour House?
Yeah, I love meeting with people all across the state. That is my favorite thing. I love meeting with people, being able to talk about the Circle of Care program, and then also, you know, just them telling us, you know, this is so needed. Like that's it's a sad thing to hear it's so needed, but it's great to hear that it's so needed and that we're here to meet those needs and you know, provide these resources for people and for them to be able to share that information out with the families that they serve.
Now, obviously, since you're working on a grant project and it's really due it finishes maybe at the end of June, could possibly get an extension, you said. But where does that kind of leave you? I mean, not to put too much pressure on you, but I mean, you have to look out for yourself as you do your job over these next 6 months.
Yeah, no. So I think if I begged the Hour House, they'd keep me. I hope. But I actually graduate with my doctorate in May.
Wow.
So yeah, I will have my doctorate in health sciences. So I don't know what the future looks like for me, but this has just been a wonderful opportunity to, you know, I think grow myself as a professional and meet so many people across the state.
Is there anything? Oh, go ahead, Kay.
No, I was going to ask, is there a success story that you've encountered, of course, that you just want to share with us? Or?
Yeah, so, you know, specifically, we haven't met with, you know, kiddos specifically. We're looking at doing some youth listening sessions and talking with people like kiddos about their experiences related to grief and substance use disorder. And so I don't have any specific success stories. You know, I think that, you know, substance use is so present and prevalent. Like everyone probably knows someone that, you know, is using or they have substance use in their family. And, you know, a lot of people go on to, you know, do absolutely wonderful things. And recovery is just 100% possible. That's one of our biggest things with the Hour House is recovery is possible. You know, there's so many people at the Hour House and that work for the agency that are living, breathing proof of this statement. And so, there's probably a lot of them out there, but I don't have one specific story because there's too many.
What about the kind of, and maybe a little bit of what Kate was thinking there, one of the hardest things to do is, even when you're in a line at a visitation, is what to say. Do you have a tip on what to say to someone who is going through grief? Either it could be death or just, their parent is in rehab. Is there just a tip of just the proper way to approach somebody and talk to them?
I think that Jessica could probably answer this question a lot better, as she's worked in the grief and substance use disorder specific field, doing a lot of bereavement camps. But I know one thing that she's mentioned a lot, especially going through like her training with us, that she's going to be doing is just letting people know that you're there for them. That letting them know what resources are out there for them, and letting them know that whenever they're ready to talk, that you're there.
And I know I was reading this morning, doing a little research, believe it or not, that grief never ends, though, right? It's one of those things that never ends when you go through these things. So people need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And everyone's grief journey, just like everyone's recovery journey, looks different. We always like to tell people that as well, that, everyone's going to go through different experiences, have different feelings, and their journeys are going to look different. And it's not going to be, one straight line, essentially. There's going to be lots of ups and downs. And like you said, grief is.
Yeah, it's never ending. We are talking to Ambrosia Branson today from the Circle of Care program. We have about 3 minutes left. Anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about real quick?
One thing.
Okay, that's good.
One of the last components to our project is this Handle with Care initiative. This was an initiative that has been trickling down into the state of Illinois through the Safe to Help program through the state, as well as through the Drug Endangered Children Alliances. And really with the Circle of Care, we're kind of jumping on the bandwagon and really trying to promote this program across the state, or this initiative. And so it's an initiative that was created in West Virginia back in 2009, and it's created to help vulnerable children through simple communication and partnerships between law enforcement and first responders, educators, mental health providers, and even child welfare workers. And so essentially, like if a law enforcement officer, say, is responding to a home one night where, say, mom and dad get into, say, a domestic violence situation or any type of situation like that, law enforcement would then send a message to the educators at that child's school saying, handle little Timmy with care. And so then the educators would be trained to know that whenever little Timmy shows up to school the next day, and say if he's acting out or, having any behavioral problems, falling asleep in class, they can provide him with whatever additional support it is that he may need. So we're offering trainings if people are interested in getting this initiative established. And we're really just trying to get this in all of the schools and all of the law enforcement agencies across the state to really just be able to help these children.
Now, real quickly before we wrap it up, we're about out of time here, of course, but are there any do you have any I'm so sorry, apologies, of course, what's the most rewarding aspects of your job? I was trying to find my question.
Yeah, I think just knowing that we're giving all of these resources and this information to people across the state for them to be able to reach out to the children, make a huge impact on their lives, being able to, I almost want to say, change the trajectory.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many kids and people that I know that a lot of them say, I wish this resource was here whenever I was going through this. So just knowing now that we're able to do that for people, I think that is just what's most rewarding to me.
Mm-hmm. We would be remiss if we didn't say get well to Terry Moore, who I know. She had a little accident. And then also get well to Karen Cook, who was ill today. So thank you for coming in today, Ambrosia. About 30 seconds to go. Why don't you give your contact information or anything that you want to get out there so people, if they do want to get a hold of you and maybe volunteer for some of the things you spoke about.
Absolutely. So again, my name's Ambrosia Branson. You can contact me at my cell, 217-549-8772, or you can call my office phone at 217-258-2968. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, Illinois Family Resource Center. Otherwise, you can find us on our website at illinoisfamilyresources.org.
Well, thank you. It was great to meet you. You have a great holiday season.
Yes, thank you, guys.
We're WEIU.